The Bad Crypto Podcast is brought to you by eToro. Over 10 million users worldwide already use eToro, and you should too. Find out how to get free Bad Coin socks with your first crypto trade. Go to badco.in/eToro. Who wants to be a crypto millionaire? Well, duh. Who doesn't want to be a crypto millionaire? We love stories of people who take risks to follow their dreams. And today's show features a gentleman who escaped the 9-to-5 cubicle life to follow his gut feeling that this crypto world was going to be huge. And now Dan Conway is a crypto millionaire and author of a new book. So for the $1 million, which crypto show is guaranteed to provide information and entertainment? This one. It's episode number 318 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
And welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast, the show for the crypto curious, the crypto serious, and the crypto travelists, because Travis is on the road.
I am traveling travelist, Travis.
You're traveling.
Traveling. I'm traversing.
You're off to, Europe?
Going back to Europe. Yep.
Very
going
nice.
To Barcelona. And actually, I'm flying into to Italy, and then going to drive over to Barcelona. So that should be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, that is still one of the places that is really high on my bucket list. I so badly want to see La Sagrada Familia. And one of these days,
beautiful.
I'm gonna make it there.
I've been there. It is very nice. There's an agency there in Barcelona that I'll be working with. So, it's exciting. It's going to be fun. But we realized we needed a Tuesday show, and we've had the interviews all set up, but we did not have the Joel and Travis pre-show banter, and so we needed to do this before I flew away.
Yeah, the post-show banter. And Travis, do you know who else is in Europe?
Lots of people. Millions and millions of people, actually.
Yeah, in fact, 11 million of them are on eToro. Ooh, how's that for a segue? Yes, eToro's huge in Europe. They're our show sponsor, and they are the best way to be smart about trading crypto. But guess what? Not just Europe anymore, gang. Nope. They're here in the US of A now. You can download the eToro app on your smartphone, whether it be an Android or an iOS device. Even one of them, their newfangled iOS 13.5.8 devices or whatever it is you've got, and you could trade 15 of the most popular crypto assets. Join and connect with 11 million other eToro traders around the world. Create your account today. We still have just a few pair of Bad Coin socks left, and you can get them if you go to badco.in/eToro. By the way, I found out today, Travis, that we have dozens of international users who signed up, put money into their eToro account, and did not open a position. You can't get your eToro socks unless you open a position. Go to badco.in/eToro and do it.
Do it. Great stuff. And Joel and I are having a little friendly competition. You should check us out there on eToro. My handle is Bad Crypto. I believe yours is what, Joel Comm? You can watch us lose money.
And I am losing money right now. I
think this market is indicating that right there for us.
Let's bring this market back. Also, quick shout out to the GoDaddy of blockchain. That's NASGO, where you can tokenize your business today with no coding required. And you know what? I uploaded their Amico app last night, Travis, and to log in to the Amico app and see your cryptos, all you got to do is put your phone number in, and it sends you, the verification with the 6-digit number. You put it in, you're logged in. You don't have to remember these complicated keys. It's so freaking easy to use, and I like to see my NASGO in my Amico wallet. Makes me happy.
Very nice.
Yep. Check them out, nasgo.com, if you want to tokenize your business and have access to this easy-to-use wallet. So, Travis, this interview that we're about to jump into with Dan Conway was super fun.
Oh, yeah, the confessions of a crypto millionaire guy. This guy has balls the size of China to be able to say, hey, honey, I'm gonna take out a loan and I'm gonna do all of this and we're gonna invest it all in Ethereum. Like his wife must be a saint.
Are both balls the size of China, or just one testicle China size? Is it like two Chinas?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure how they would get through TSA. At the airport.
Yeah, this is great. You guys are going to enjoy this. From working in the cubicle workplace for a unnamed, well, kind of named. He didn't name it, but I figured out who he worked for. Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100 company, to becoming a crypto millionaire. Enjoy this interview with Dan Conway. Well, it's not exactly a rags to riches story, but it is a not so rich to riches story, as there has been a flood of crypto related books that have been coming our way. And by flood, I mean several. It's not like there's hundreds, but there's several on my desk. And this one really caught our attention because the author is, he's just a regular dude that had a corporate job, was extremely frustrated with it, saw the vision of crypto, decided that his cojones were the size of elephants, and took a risk, and now is the author of a book called Confessions of a Crypto Millionaire, My Unlikely Escape from Corporate America. His name is Dan Conway, and Dan, welcome to Bad Crypto.
Oh, hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so is it true that you have cojones the size of an elephant?
Well, the whole book is trying to answer that question. Like, what the hell happened? It's not, it's not really like a rebuttal to the people who say I got lucky. It's more of a response, because I realized, like in the second or third painful draft, I was trying to figure out how it all happened.
Now that's wild. So the folks who haven't had the chance to read the book, maybe give the lowdown of what transpired, because I think you were working at a soul crushing job in corporate America,
yeah.
And then some other things had happened, and all of a sudden you understood, you found out this crypto thing, and then you just went all in on Ethereum. So what happened?
Yeah, so I was let me see, I was like in my early 40s, 44, I guess, mid 40s, geesh. And I was working at a big company, which I call Acme in the book for legal reasons, and
right.
And I was, it was soul crushing, like a lot of people's jobs. What I always say at this point is, like, listen, most people on the planet would love to be in a soul crushing corporate job. We were paying the bills, going out to pizza, paying our energy, the PG&E bills and all that kind of thing. But it was like kind of what, it was kind of a life of quiet desperation in a lot of ways. I got to a certain point in my career. My wife and I are raising 3 kids, and, big mortgage, lots of expenses. Again, listen, upper middle class. I mean, we own a home in the Bay Area. And so there's no other way to say that, but it didn't really feel like it. We had you bang up a fender, the freaking washing machine breaks. It's like, oh my God, So we were, since the 2008 financial crisis, where we lost our equity line, my wife does PR as a consultant. She lost all her clients. We had been kind of like struggling back, and we were doing fine, but we would use our credit cards to get through certain months and things like that. And we finally got our equity line back. But, in corporate America, I got to a point where I got to like a lower to mid-level executive position at a big company, really lower executive at this company. And, I suddenly, the thing that was going to allow me to keep my job in this big centralized company and to advance is what I really wanted and needed to do, for the money. And also because, I always want to be advancing, and was a leadership presence, like leadership, your leadership presence. And, I never had it. I would like crack a joke, one too many jokes. I'd get insecure. I'd talk too little. I'd get manic and talk too much. Nothing like, clinical, but I just didn't have this.
Like me in the corporate world, cracking up awkward jokes at the wrong time. That sounds like me.
Totally. No, that's why you have a podcast and it works beautifully.
Right.
So I was, and I'd never really been on the cutting edge of anything, I mean, I'd done just fine. Like, I'm a reasonably intelligent guy, and, but I never, I'd never been on the cutting edge of anything, especially tech. I mean, I was like normal, like normal, not like one of these crypto jujitsus with tech. And I was at a really low point in my career. I just came across an article on Bitcoin, and it was, I'd heard about it like most of us years before in 11, 12, 13, something like that. And it was about 300 there's somewhere in the 300s when I first came across it. And the simple thought of, what if it goes up again? Just the pure speculative, sort of like at a low point in my financial life and career life. And that's what kind of led me down the rabbit hole. And I just started learning, it started off with just pure greed. And then it just like the more I learned, and what I talk about in the book is it kind of pulled in both sides of my personality. It was like my, reasonably intelligent, interesting kind of ability to get very obsessive about things, that side of my personality. Like I've always been open to new ideas and things like that. I'm not like a closed-minded traditionalist. And so, I loved all that. And in addition, man, the talk of decentralization. I mean, I was in one of the most centralized companies in the world, and the bureaucracy, the chains of command, the need to hew to a corporate culture, all that stuff was just killing me. And, it was the institutions, not so much the people, but just like the way it was all set up, it was not working for me. So all the decentralization, especially when I learned about Ethereum, and that's why Ethereum and Ether became my coin, was because this idea of decentralized organizations, I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. And I didn't know enough to really evaluate the tech itself, but I saw enough people really, like smart people, credible organizations, institutions, that I sort of like, I got into Ether, and that became my coin because of that focus on decentralization. And let me just say one other thing, which is that, like, again, I'm talking about how did it happen in the book, because, that wouldn't have been enough for me to invest if that was just, I'm a progressive thinker and I'm open to new ideas. But I have this other side, which I call flip side in the book. And he's an addict. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's, pissed. He wants to be number one. Illusions of, inferiority complex with illusions of grandeur, as we say in recovery circles. And in fact, I was in recovery, and I am in recovery. Early, but like a few years before I got into crypto, I had been completely sober for 3-4 years. I can't remember. It's all the dates are in the book, but I had alcoholism in the past. I started drinking again after we had the third kid. My wife had never seen me drink. I convinced her it was a good idea. Then I quickly got into pills, and I was a complete Vicodin addict, oxys, any of the opiates I would take. And I actually had a drug dealer. I went to Pill Hill in the Tenderloin. So I also had, so it was like my wonderful human being side. And then also this other side that was just like, let's go for it. Let's do it. This will make us whole again, and that's what I'm trying to kind of unwind in the book.
Well, we've all got that shadow side, right? And it's just a matter of typically when we're extreme on one side, the flip side can be, just as extreme. So how did your wife deal with you saying, I'm going to invest everything and borrow $200,000 against my home?
Yeah. Well, so it kind of happened in stages. And really what happened was, she knows I get obsessive about things. I get really into it. I was really into blogging for a couple of years. I was really into writing and blogging, which, and it was like kind of all I would talk about for a couple of years. It's like, how many likes I got on my blog posts and stuff like that. So
by the way, you have not updated your blog since May 14th, 2018. Just saying.
I know this damn book got in the way, but you're right.
He's no longer addicted to blogging. Good job. You broke your habit.
Dropped it exactly. So I gotta update. This book took up all my energy, but no, you're right. I've gotta write some stuff. But
well, you do what you want to do. Is really the point. Who cares if you blog? If you want to blog, don't. If you don't, I mean, you got enough money now. Go travel the world. I mean, who gives a rip about blogging?
Exactly. Yeah. Go buy an ice cream sundae. It's for part of book promotion. I got to update it and make it more. But this takes more than you would think. Just trying to get it to the right people. And, as you and I were talking about before, it's hard to get people to read a book and you spend so much time on it. But I love the beauty. I mean, it took so much, and then I'll answer the question here about how it actually went down, but it takes so much to write a book. I mean, I had to go so deep to get this out. Not like it was like some deep masterpiece or something like that, but just in your own brain, especially when it's a memoir, to try to like just really get at what it is. It took so like every ounce of my writing muscles. It was like running a marathon that I had to write an essay for part of this process, a 2,000-word essay. And it was a really good opportunity. And it was just so hard. I realized how tired my muscles were. My brain was just like, no, we're not doing this. Remember, like we did that. We're taking a break. And I'm like, come on, guys, let's get in there. But anyway, so as I went down, as I started to get more into crypto and become more and more into it, I talked to my wife a little bit about it, but not a lot, because A, she didn't want to hear it, and B, I knew that, especially considering my background, that I knew her background. She's not, she wouldn't have probably been into this concept, to put it lightly. And so as I went deeper and deeper, sometimes she saw me like watching videos, like there'd be like Vitalik on our big screen. I'd be watching it like late at night when I'd usually be watching like Game of Thrones or Homeland or something. And she was kind of curious about like who the hell's that? I'm like, oh, it's the inventor of the new technology I'm interested in, and it's like, well, okay, like that's really weird, but whatever. Then I just went so far down, man, and I just became convinced. I mean, I just became so convinced that Ether was going to pop. And yes, I ended up being right about, there was a lot of ups and downs in the book, but I ended up being right that it was going to pop. I'm not saying that I was like, so brilliant that I saw it was going to happen. All I can say is my state of mind. I was absolutely 100%, every ounce of my being, after spending like literally, I would spend like 4 or 5 hours a night. I was obsessed. I knew everything that was going on. I was just like following everything, all the Reddits, all the Twitters, all the stuff.
Man,
and
that's great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. It was getting me to an extreme position. It was getting me to an extreme position. And, it just like happened slowly. So I finally had enough after I left the meeting, and I folded up the papers in my jacket, and I walked down to Wells Fargo, the same bank that had pulled our equity line. And I went in there, and I set it all up, and I was going to wire. We had this like amazing windfall, like 3 months before, and we'd never had anything like this before. My mom sold her house and gave us some money. I had some stock options that finally vested. My wife's startup got acquired by Microsoft, and she got like 20 grand. And so in total, we had about 100 grand. And it was like our security blanket, because my job was, not going well. And we had never had it before, other than like our 401ks and stuff. And so I went there, and I had enough, and I set it up, and I started wiring all of it, 100 grand to Gemini. They were the first big ones to offer Ether. And right as it was about, halfway through the wire, there's these like processes and screens. I looked down at my phone, and my wife had texted me, and she said, "What the fuck is this?" And it was a text alert from Wells Fargo to her phone saying, like, you have $100,000.
Oh, man.
That was bad.
You do have huge balls.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, I have something there. And
so was she like, I'm divorcing your ass right now? And I'm like, honey, you should probably wait until Ethereum price goes up.
And she's like, what is Ethereum? Like, is this a cult? Is this like, what is this? Is this like, do we have to go to like Gambling Anonymous?
That's
like,
so funny. Yeah, and how just for reference, like what was the price of Ethereum around that time?
It was like right around then. It was right around $10. It was somewhere.
Okay,
there.
wow, nice.
Yeah.
So like January 2018, you were really.
This was like June. So
this was like what 2000 what year? What year was
2000? This was like June 2016.
Okay.
And
So a year and a half later, it's worth $1,500, and you're looking like a freaking genius, huh?
Yeah. Well, we made a deal, and I was able to put it in. I mean, I stopped the wire. We talked about it. We made this really weird deal that worked, and I put the money in, and then like 2 weeks later, the DAO hack happened, and we lost like 60% of our money. I made my only disastrous trade. I thought, I wasn't worried. I mean, I was convinced. I was like, there's nothing that would. I was like bullish to the extreme, and I was. Right. So
blindly bullish.
Highly bullish, man. Like, irrationally mouth foaming bullish. And so anyway, we ended up making a disastrous trade. It was down 60%, and we lost 25% of our stack. Then I got fired from my job. And so it was bad scene, you know? And
she's like, I told you not to do that. I don't know what the hell's your problem is. You know, she just went off on you, didn't she?
No, she didn't, because she didn't like to talk about money. No, we didn't. I didn't even tell her about it. I mean, this is the thing I really, and she didn't want to know. I mean, she would, and then thirdly, I wasn't even that worried. And I was more worried that that disastrous trade, I lost my stack. I wasn't so worried about the price. But then as June turned into the fall and the winter, then it was getting, I mean, you know, ETH kept dropping. It was down like in the $6 range by the end of the year. And it was just troll brigade on the Reddits. And I was convinced. I'd started doing PR for some crypto projects, and that was fun, but it was like, oh God, you know, maybe the timing's right, but it's going to be a decade. I mean, the thing was right, but it was going to take a decade to happen. So then I go in the book and I discuss what led to, you know, the really insane move, which, you know, after we made the deal, my wife said, okay, listen, this is making you happy. You can like do what you want. You know, I had talked to her a lot about it, and she was not a believer, but she didn't think we were going to get rich. But she just, for whatever reason, and I really do a lot of explaining about how that went down in the book. But anyway, and my next and final play was I ended up, you know, we didn't have any more money in our bank account. So I went into the house and we got our equity line back, and I put another $250,000 in ETH right around, you know, in January 2017 over a period of a couple of weeks. I've learned, because before I was selling and buying, the markets were shallow then. And with the amounts I was putting in, I was causing like some bear runs, some panic, and then also like price was going up. It was really thin then. So anyway, so we were in for $350,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All I want to know now, Karnak the Magnificent, is what's next. You know, what is the next big crypto? Come on, throw the rest of us peons a bone here.
Yeah, God, I wish I knew. I mean, so after we ended up getting out, I really focused on writing this book, because I mean, I just like you guys. I mean, you know, when you're a writer, you kind of have to have your writing hat on, and then you're like looking at the story objectively. And I always love reading career memoirs. I always love reading like business memoirs, stuff like that. And, you know, like, it's not rags to riches, like you said, but it's a guy stuck in the middle of corporate America who was able to get financial independence. So I knew it was a great story. Objectively, it's a great story. And so I really focused on writing the book for 2 years. And then I kind of popped up. I mean, I was tracking crypto every day, of course, but I wasn't living it emotionally, and I didn't have the same energy behind it over this last couple of years. And so I'm following all the DeFi stuff, following, you know, Bitcoin rebound, store value, all the good stuff in crypto, along with all the horrible price movements. And, but I'm getting a lot of questions about that. And people are kind of like you, half tongue in cheek, right? I mean, they know that I was in at the right time, at the right place. I could have had the same thought, 6 months later, and I'd be right now. I wouldn't be on the show. I'd be like, trying to find some other crappy job. And so I obviously have no idea, but I'm still bullish on the space. I'm still really bullish on Ether and Bitcoin. I mean, for Bitcoin, it's been like, there's that principle that everyone says, the longer it exists, the more likely it is to exist. And it's just been around for so long. It's got the brand, it's got the security. It's not perfect, and then on Ether, just there's so much development happening, man. I mean, I since finishing the book, I've really been diving in, so I know somewhat of what's happening, lately, and just the DeFi stuff. There's so many organizations, so many developers. I have faith that the engineers, the developers, the user interface folks are going to figure out how to make it work for a mainstream audience once there's some scaling breakthrough. And the big risk I see, the black swan, is that some of this stuff turns out to be impossible. I think the most important stuff won't turn out to be impossible, like scaling. I think it all kind of hinges on that.
How many friends do you have now? That's what I want to know. Like from before, 2016 to now, all of a sudden,
he just got 2 new friends.
Right. We're best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. It's like, I mean, the book just came out on September 9th, but the cool thing about it has been, so, I mean, listen, the book goes through the demons, like the flip side and all this kind of stuff, the depression, the problems I had. My sister also got sick and passed away from leukemia. And during this period, so it was most of the like old friends that have gotten in touch from college or, just whatever, they're very like, I'm ready to celebrate. I finished the book, I mean, yeah, the money, but I'm like, God, I finished this thing. And they're like, we're so sorry what you went through, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, the money's there too, but since they knew me, they're like, we had no idea, and I'm like, guys, don't worry about it. That's in the past, which it's not, you got to always watch what you do in the future, but it's been a lot of that. And then also, when you write a book about yourself, there's little anecdotes and scenes. The book is a series of scenes. That's like what Mesrek talked about in his Bitcoin book. You have to have scenes, and people show up in various points in these scenes, usually with a different name. And I didn't include things that made people look bad, but so there's a lot of fun stuff like that. I've gotten a lot of, then the final thing is, like a lot of strangers, as they read the book, they'll let me know what they thought, or they'll hit me up on LinkedIn and they'll talk about, we all have our cryptogenesis stories, and everyone wants to tell their cryptogenesis story. And I love them. If I was into it, I think doing a podcast focused on cryptogenesis stories or having that as a segment, maybe you guys should do that. It's interesting, how people came from their different corners in the moment they got it, that kind of thing.
Well, whenever we talk to somebody, that's part of, what we ask them. So does AT&T suck? I just need to know.
No comment on that.
I mean, in the book, you call them Acme, for NBA.
No, he called them Acme and T.
Acme and T. But I mean, it's all you got to do is spend 2 seconds on LinkedIn and know exactly who the hell you work for. So, I mean,
yeah, I perfectly word how I frame all that in the forward to the book, and I can't say anything more.
All right, then. There you go. He doesn't want to get sued by his former employee that now knows he's wealthy.
Well, what they're going to do is they're just gonna have somebody's SIM card hack him, probably.
No. Take your pixels off.
That's what AT&T does. They'll have him. No, that's great.
I do not mind you asking though, but I cannot answer.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. So, like, what does your wife think now?
Well, it's like, so after she finally got it at the very, very end, and so, I mean, she doesn't, I mean, man, we're like, dude, we're so fortunate. I mean, we don't have to, mainly because we don't have to like work a corporate job or, so she's a writer too. So she's writing books. She's writing a middle grade book. It's really good. It's going to come out in a few weeks. And so, but for me, like for so long, I'd been focused on the money that and I like to talk and think about money, and she doesn't. So, she could like move right on into like a new life. Whereas for me, I felt like maybe it was like a permanent glitch in my brain. Like it happened too fast, like a diver coming up from the ocean floor. Like I was, so it's been 2 years since the big sale, and I've been adjusting to the new life. But the other thing is like I lived it hardcore for 2 years, and then I've been writing this book for 2 years. So it's almost like I had to live it again. So that's another reason why it was so hard to finish the book. I was so sick of it. I was like just worn out. And so now it's time to like move on to the next phase. But it's, the main difference in life really is just two things. One is with the main one, it's like 90% of it is we have freedom to do what we want. And that's worth everything,
Okay. But I have to know, when anytime somebody comes into a chunk of money, they usually go and buy something. Yes, I have to know what is the first big thing that you went and bought?
Yeah, it was really two things. One was we bought a new Audi A8 or whatever it is, V8. I'm not really.
And you paid cash, right? You paid cash.
We paid cash, and it was January 2018. Crypto was everywhere, and the salesman, he said something, and I was always trying to look for a way to bring up crypto. I just couldn't help it, and we had a big discussion about crypto, and we bought that. We bought that with cash, and that was great. And then the other thing is travel. Like we travel all over the place, and we went on this trip to Japan, and we used this like high-end travel service, and it was like unbelievable. It was, it felt like we were a celebrity. They had like different, just personalized guides everywhere and stuff. And, you got to get used to it. It's like, I didn't grow up with money. My dad was a high school principal, and my mom, worked at Sears, retail, and we did fine. But so, you know, there's a little bit of that, like almost, it's not guilt, but it's kind of like, oh God, these are all like the douchebags I used to complain about, you know, and then, you know, and then thinking about my kids maybe having, you know, we got to hold on to this money and live off it. So there's no guarantees, but, you know, they could have trust funds one day. And it's like, oh man, the dreaded trust funders, you know, those never turn out well.
Well, you know, I find this, regardless of how much money you have, is like, as long as they're grateful for what they have and teaching them, you know, to become a functional adult. That's just pretty much how I've lived life, is that, you know what, it's like, no, there's no perfect guideline on how to be an amazing, perfect parent, but give them love and give them, you got to give them some boundaries too. But I always find that, you know, my goal is, as a dad, is to help them become a functional adult. And they don't always necessarily see that as how I'm doing it. But really, it's like, overall, I've noticed their skill sets have grown pretty good and they're functioning pretty well, because, you know, it's a crazy world out there, especially because, you know, a lot of kids get coddled and they don't have adversity and they don't know how to face adversity. And then they start screeching to the sky when they start having a little bit of problems or challenges in their life. Need a safe space. So hopefully I can help them avoid the need for a safe space and embrace the challenges that they have.
Yeah, no, that's well said, man. That's exactly right. And, you know, that's the thing. I mean, the thing is like, you know, my kids are, you know, like 15 and below. And, you know, the challenges they have are like, you know, friends, or they didn't make the sports team, or whatever it is. And the money really doesn't help all that. So in one way to look, it's like, that's good. You know, they can, you know, that problems aren't solved by, you know, the fact that we have like a bunch of money now. You know, it's that those kind of adversities aren't really, you can't help them really with money. But, you know, it's true, man. It's tough. It's tough. And I like what you said, you see their skill sets growing. I completely agree. Like my 10-year-old read that big book. It was like the Celestine Prophecy. No, it wasn't that one. It was the other one. It was about the picture of Da Vinci's painting, with all the people there. Is a huge, massive hit. Anyway,
Da Vinci Code.
Yes. Totally unimportant, nothing intellectual, but wow, he read like a real book. Like,
well,
you know,
there's, you know, Brown's account actually has, it's historical fiction, right? I mean, yes. the fictional part, you know, whatever, but it is interesting because you do learn a lot about Da Vinci and the history.
It's totally fascinating. I agree, and it was just like, as a parent, it was one of those moments you're like, okay, like that's the youngest, and he can actually read a book. Like, all right, some milestone has been passed.
That is great.
Better than the film, that's for sure. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got that.
Yeah. Do you pay your kids in crypto? Is there allowances in crypto?
You know what, man? We don't even do allowances. This is the one thing. Eileen and I didn't grow up doing a lot of chores growing up. So we're, you know, it's like, and it's not because we want to spare them. It's just more of a hassle to get them to do the chores. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they still got to do all their homework and stuff. But I don't know. Do you have your kids do chores for an allowance and stuff?
Definitely. I had them I used to do this thing called gotcha, because gotcha doing something good. Right. That's a really good thing is, I caught you doing something good. And I'd give them like a little ticket. And then when they got enough tickets, I would allow them to come down and pick out like a silver coin, right? That's a unique silver coin. That was really cool, because what happens is with parenting, a lot of times people are always harping on you for the bad that you do, yep. but they don't ever catch you doing the good stuff. And you want to reinforce the good stuff. But unfortunately, most parents reinforce the bad stuff because they're always getting on to them about things they don't want them to do. So if you get on to them when you find them doing things you want them to do and reward that, then they start doing stuff on their own. Like, oh, they just emptied out the dishwasher on their own. And they're kind of looking, am I going to get a gotcha? Right? And it's like, hey, good job. Here's a gotcha. And like 5 gotchas turned into like a silver coin or something. So something like that was always fun, kind of gamifying the chore deal and just incentivizing them to be good.
That's great. We got to do that too, man. That's and also we're trying to do more of like volunteer work, and we give to charity. Like we've always given to charity, you know, nothing like extremely extravagant at all, but we do that more now at like a higher level. But like that's one thing, especially with the kids, we gotta, since we have this big sum of money, we've gotta boost that up and have like a plan for it. That's another thing. I mean, A, because it's the right thing to do. B, because it teaches them, we go to this trip in Japan and they're being like waited on and stuff. And, you've got to balance it out to give them some perspective. Well, hopefully we're both salt of the earth enough where they're not going to, absorb all this, like we're got to have the right watches and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, that's the Kacha. I love that. It's great.
So I wonder, Dan, where do you see yourself? Are you a long-term goal kind of guy? I guess I should start there. Do you have, are you like a 10-year, 20-year plan kind of guy? Are you like, let's just see what happens next?
Kind of in between. I really love to write, and so I want to write. I want to write more. I want to write a book. I want to get back into blogging. I want to write another book. I want to get back into blogging. It's funny. Part of my spiel here was, I'm not like a TED Talk ready speaker. I'm not, this is not my platform to like be a business coach or something like that. But I enjoy talking about it. And you realize once you write a book, you actually thought so much through to get it on the page in the right way. You actually have good answers to everything. And it's like, you're not really faking it if you actually spent the right time doing the book. So, and people, I do think there's like good things in the story for people to hear, and also enough interesting points and insanity that it keeps their interest. So I've thought about maybe doing some like public speaking kind of stuff. These are all like super early thoughts. I mean, I'm going to be promoting the book for the next probably 2 or 3 months, but I want to write more. And then honestly, dude, I got to get back into shape, because I gained 20 pounds in the last 6 months just trying to finish this thing. I would like reward myself with like a box of Krispy Kremes.
It's a crypto diet. It's like the newly crypto rich diet, eating shitloads of carbs.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I did all the keto stuff and then added in all the carbs and sugar. Yeah, it was a really good plan. So, that's like on the side. I mean, I have the time. I have absolutely no excuses, although your calendar fills up with stuff that, nature abhors a vacuum. Even though I don't go to a job, it still fills up, but I absolutely have time to do anything I want to do. Like I said, I'm super blessed in that way. So I got to get my ass back in shape, and, so I don't blow it here by getting diabetes and like dying in 5 years,
Yeah, it's super easy when you are living comfortably to let yourself go. And, the times that I've done best at being in shape is when things are really hard, right? Because then, but when things are going good, it's easy to get fat.
You're totally right. For me, it was like rewarding myself because I was putting every ounce of concentration into the book. But when I got fired from my job, I look back at pictures then, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I was working out on like the punching bag and running, and I was like, damn, I was like thin, and you never know it at the time. You're like, God, I look good. Why did I realize
listen, if it would help to, have some strife in your life, you could just donate. Whatever you have left to the Bad Crypto Fund, and then you'll be like, oh crap, I got to get in shape. Mm-hmm. And Travis and I will have Krispy Kremes.
We'll only give it back to you after you're no longer fat. Yeah, welcome to the Fat Crypto Podcast.
Totally, it's got a ring to it. I like.
Maybe you should do your own podcast, the Fat Crypto.
I love it. I'd have to just you keep putting on the pounds. Yeah, absolutely, man. That works for me.
Yeah. And like by the final episode, you're like,
totally.
Get me a hot soda.
Good stuff. Hey, Dan Conway is the author. The book is Confessions of a Crypto Millionaire. Dan, where can people get a copy?
So it's for now, it's all on Amazon. I talk about decentralization, but these days it's all about that Amazon algorithm. And so I have an audiobook, a paperback, and an ebook up there. And it's all about trying to get Amazon to start recommending it to more people. So, you mentioned the title, it's right up there. And if people wanted to follow me elsewhere, I'm the best place. I have a website, danconwaywriter.com. I'm also on Twitter, danconway650.
You can call him at 867-5309.
That's right. I love it. Gen X reference.
Ask for Gen A.
Yeah, totally. Dude, Gen X, I love it. There's a lot of Gen X references in the book, too. People said, oh, it's a great Gen X book. I'm like, oh, man, that's great. That's good to hear.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, guys, I had a blast. You guys have a great show, man. Keep it up. And I thank you for having me.
Thank you. Confessions of a Crypto Millionaire. And he just poured his soul out to us. Thank you so much, Dan.
You're very welcome.
And next up on Who Wants to Be a Crypto Millionaire, everybody.
Me, please, me. Just me.
That dude was so insightful and ready. He pulled the trigger. No guts, no glory, right?
You know what? The ones who do the biggest risks are the ones that have the biggest rewards. Like, that's the whole thing. I'm listening to this book that John Lee Dumas recommended, The One Thing. And they talk about how, putting your eggs in one basket, how that thing is like, oh, don't put your eggs in one basket. It's like, no, put your eggs in one basket. Focus on what it is you're trying to accomplish. If you try to put a little bit over here and a little bit over there, then guess what? Nothing grows. It doesn't. You're not going to have, big growth in your life, typically financially, or in your career, because it's like if you're just trying to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, then chances are you don't really get great at what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to take exception with that because I actually gave a talk here at Social Media Day just the other day here in Denver, and I think that there's something that can have your focus at one time, but I got eggs in a lot of different baskets, and that's actually a key to my success is experimenting with a lot of different stuff. So maybe I'm misunderstanding it, or maybe it's one of those things where there's not a one size fits all. People are so different in our approaches to things.
Yeah, I think that because I'm all about stacking skills and growing in different areas. But then again, it's like your one thing is you're a public speaker. You're doing podcasts. You create content. So it's like your internet marketing stuff. So it is kind of one thing. It's just different versions of the one thing, right? And so I think that, if you want to be the very best brain surgeon in the world, then, you're going to focus on being a brain surgeon and you're going to spend as much time to becoming the best as you can, right? So I think that's really part of the deal is spend time focusing on what it is that you want. And if you don't have a goal, then how are you ever going to get there? You're not going to get where you want to go if you don't actually put work in towards it and focus work.
Well, there is that brain surgeon that also went to school to be a proctologist. So he was fully qualified to do, to get people's heads out of their ass.
That's really good. That's perfect. If you didn't make that joke, I was getting ready to make that joke.
That scares me that we're on the same page there. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for listening to the show. We have a lot of really fantastic interviews in the can. I'm not sure which are coming up next because we've recorded so many, but you're going to want to make sure and be subscribed to this podcast and then tell a friend. Now is the time. This is when the markets are like, this is when the people who really understand that blockchain is the future are listening in. The people that are just in it for the price, they fall by the wayside and, they go back to listening to other stuff. But you guys who are here, that this thing is going to blow up again in price. At least you believe it is, like we do, and that you're in it for the long haul because this is world-changing stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you can get Bitcoin right now less than $8,000 a Bitcoin. Like, you know what? I mean, the thing is that even in February it was at 3,200, right? And then it got all the way up to 13,000. It did like almost a 4x. It did 4x. That's great. And so now we are here at a little under 8,000. And you know what? We've seen the all-time high is 20-something thousand. McAfee still seems to think by the end of the year we're going to hit 50,000. I think he is a little loco on that one. I would be glad if we could see 10,000 by the end of the year, quite frankly. And it should be interesting to see the rest of this year. And you're right. We do got a lot of great interviews in the can, and we're going to be creating a lot of more great interviews at World CryptoCon and Vegas Blockchain Week. So if you guys have not had a chance to get your tickets to that, make sure to do that. You can get some discounted tickets courtesy of us, actually. $100 off. You can go to badco.in/WCC. We'd love to hang out with you in Vegas. It's going to be awesome, baby.
It is going to be awesome. So two things. One, I think you're confused. We're on the crypto exchange. It's not the Forex exchange. I know that was like a minute old. I just didn't want to interrupt you with that joke. Here's the other thing. I just checked out the Twitters and timestamp 9:50 a.m. Mountain Time on October 7th. McAfee just tweeted that the McAfee DEX goes live in an hour. List any Ethereum-based coin for free. So his thing is starting to happen. He's got a comparison chart between him, Ether, Delta, Coinbase, IDEX, Kraken, and BISC, showing the benefits of listing on the McAfee DEX. So this is going to be interesting to watch.
MacX. Nice.
Yeah. All right, gang. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Travis, go get on a plane and enjoy your time in Europe. And stay bad, my friends. Stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.